So we're still in the basics of Linux. And what I'll teach myself is the Linux file system hierarchy. So a bit about the Linux file system hierarchy is that it's a standard directory structure used by a Linux distribution to organize files and directories on a Linux system. So hierarchy is organized as a tree structure. Linux file system hierarchy. As you can see, it is organized uh, as a tree structure with the root directory at the top of the tree. At the top of the tree. Here is an overview of the main directory and their purposes. So I'll walk through with some of the directories and tell you what are their purposes. Hmm. This may be a lot of information. It may seem like a lot, but what can we do? So one of the commands or directories, not commands, directories is bin, essential binaries. So that contains an essential user level system utilities such as uh, ls, cp, mv commands, uh, listing, copying, and moving commands, the basic stuff. And there's also boot, as it states, static files for bootloader. So it is a contains the files that needed to boot the system as the kernel, bootloader, or the boot configuration files. So there's also dev directory. Do I see dev in here? I don't see it. Okay, but there is dev directory. Hopefully this has it. Yeah, dev directory. So it contains device files that represents the hardware devices connected to the system, such as the disk, terminals, and the USB devices. There is also etc directory that contains system configuration files, including those for system services and user accounts. There's also home directory where it contains the user directories, user home directories, which typically store specific files and configurations. There's also lib contains lib directory, lib, uh, which contains the system libraries that need to support the essential system programs and utilities. There is also a media directory containing pound points for removal media such as MSV, USB drives, and optical discs. And there is uh, what? There is also mint directory, MANT, that contains the mount point for temporary files such as network files. Those are where you're able to visit, keep your temporary files until you reboot your or restart your system, where everything that's included within the temporary mint directory gets removed. Uh, so there's also OPT directory, op directory that contains optional software packages installed on the system. Uh, there are there are a lot more, but some of them that I'll talk about in here is the uh, proc directory containing virtual file system that provide information about system resources such as memory usages, process information, and hardware. Um, let's see. Maybe look at proc. Information about the parallel ports of your system. It is one of the subdirectory for each port, named after port number. So yeah, within our Linux system, on the Linux. These hierarchy-specific files would represent the current state of kernel, allowing applications and users to peer into kernel's view of the system. This is much more clearer. Okay, so there's also root, the main was a home directory for the root users. And let's see, root. Uh, what else? There is also run directory that contains runtime files such as PID files, socket files used by system services. There's also uh, sbin. Uh, so sbin is container system administration for binaries such as system daemons and system configurations. Let's clarify what that is. What does sbin name and Linux? What does sbin mean? So it is a directory containing some executable files. These are mainly system administrator binaries, so you can remember the folder names such as sys binaries. These commands should be used only by administrator using the expand root user. Mm, And there are a couple more that I'll discuss with you. Next one is SRV directory that contains data for system services provided by systems such as FTP service and HTTPS. Um, and as the Google states, containing site-specific data served by your system running Red Hat Enterprise Linux. If it's running Red Hat Enterprise. Uh, uh, how to check file hierarchy in Linux? How are the Linux file system organized? Okay. There's also temp directory that contains temporary files created by user applications and system processes. Same thing as uh, mint directory or mount directory. Uh, let's see the difference. Mm, well, who cares? Um, user user directory contain a user-related programs, libraries such as user application, user utilities, development libraries, uh, user local hierarchies for use by system administrator when installing software locally. That's way clearer. Um, var directory contains variables. Var contains uh, variable files that change during system operations, such as log files, system databases, and spool files. This includes this full directories and files, administration, logging data, transit, temporary files. Some sort of var are not shareable between different systems. What is var in Linux system files? Spool contains a file being processed by a program such as electronic mail, similar to the user's file directory and previous. Temp contains a temporary file system to be similar to the user directory and previous release. Is now symbolic. Like, what is var? This is user Linux. Well, I guess just to understand the Linux file system hierarchy is important for system administrator and users as to provide a standardized ways of organizing files and directories on the Linux file hierarchy.